Okay, it's December 28th, 2023. Call the meeting for the Wolfeboro Budget Committee, the Wolfeboro Public Library. Tonight we're going to talk about finish up some agencies, estimated revenues, default budget, and then we'll talk a little about warrant articles. Do some revisit items for the fire department, the water department, any other business, and approval of the minutes for December 12th, 14th, and 18th. Then we'll also take public comment.
You want to do the pledge?
Pledge of allegiance, yeah.
Okay.
Brian, would you mind doing the pledge for us, please?
Certainly. Starts out with I, right?
Yeah.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any public comment before we start?
Public comment?
Public
Yeah,
comment,
John,
anyone?
can you speak up,
Certainly, Suzanne.
please? You can carry your head down when you're reading and it doesn't project. Thank you.
Okay. Let's start off with the agencies. Northern Human Services. Yeah.
Come sit up in any of these chairs, introduce yourself, and tell us a little about your organization. Thank you. Sit next to you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Valita Saraselli. I'm the Behavioral Health Director of Carroll County for Northern Human Services. Northern is a nonprofit community mental health center. We have offices throughout northern New Hampshire. One of our offices is located here in Wolfeboro over on Bay Street. We offer a range of mental health services to the community. Majority of our funding is through insurance reimbursement, mainly Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. One of the services that we do offer is our 24/7 mobile crisis emergency services program. This is one of our most important programs because it gives people that are in mental health crisis access to a licensed mental health clinician 24/7. This program also is actually one of our programs that runs in the biggest deficit because with this program we do not deny services to anybody, whether they can pay or not, whether they have insurance or they're underinsured. If they need the service, we provide it. We get them the help that they need, whether that's going to a psychiatric hospital or coming into our office for services. Along with mobile crisis, we also offer case management, therapy, FSS support, again, a wide range of mental health services. Our Wolfeboro office, I'm pleased to say, is now fully staffed. So we are working on going through our wait list and getting people into the services that they need. We have a full-time psychiatrist out of that office, which is incredibly important and rare nowadays, especially in northern New Hampshire, to find a psychiatrist. So we work very hard to get people in and get them the help that they need. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do you have any idea how many Wolfeboro folks that you see over the course of a year?
I believe right now we have 346 clients out of the Wolfeboro office.
And how do you come up with the amount that you request for the $7,449? How did you come up with that figure?
That I can't tell you. We've been asking for that long before I came here. I asked that question and nobody can answer me how we came up with that number.
Okay.
I really don't know.
Do you know how it compares to other communities that have the same amount of patients or service that you provide? Like Ossipee or Conway or Moultonborough or?
Mm-hmm. So it really depends on the population size, how many people in that town we're serving that are uninsured or underinsured.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
John, just a comment.
Yes, sir.
I think what you do is great.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We appreciate the support that we've continued to get from Wolfeboro.
Question, John.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Didn't we in the past ask the various agencies to supply some profit and loss information? would that not tell us where the 7449 is coming from?
They do have financials here,
Okay. Page 99 it starts.
yeah.
104 and 105.
In fact, it looked to me like fiscal year 22, I'm not sure what your fiscal year is, if it's calendar year or off month, but,
It goes from July to June.
okay, so fiscal year 22, the agency showed a loss of a little over $1 million. Fiscal year 23, they showed a profit of $454,000. It looked like your contributions went up, and also your aid from, I guess your government aid from the federal government, I guess it went up a lot, so much better this year than last, for sure.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming down, appreciate it.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
good evening, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You too. Thank you.
Okay, Life Ministries. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bill Connors. I'm the president of the Life Ministries Food Pantry. We, as many of you know, are a nonprofit organization founded in 1985. We've been serving under the oversight of a 15-member board of directors that represents the 7 member churches, or the 7 founding churches, and a number of at-large representatives. And we operate with about 65 very active volunteers. Our mission is to provide access to food security to qualified members of the community with dignity and respect. And to do that, we provide sufficient food to prepare 12 meals each week for each family member. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've operated on a drive-through basis on the first and third Wednesdays of every month. So after a brief decline following the pandemic, our numbers began to increase steadily in the middle of 2022 and have just skyrocketed ever since. During 2021, the food pantry distributed 136,477 meals. That number increased to 153,951 in 2022. This year, we wrapped it up the other day, we handled 4,098 family visits, which is an increase of 26% over 2022. As our year came to an end with the Christmas distribution, we had distributed 241,388 meals, which is an increase of 57%. During the year, we provided food to 1,027 individuals from 388 households. For Thanksgiving, I often point back to there was an article at the founding of the food pantry in 1985 that said that they served 15 Thanksgiving dinners that year. For Thanksgiving, we served 236 families. And normally for Christmas, we see a little bit of a drop-off. We served 229 for Christmas, which was essentially identical to a Thanksgiving distribution. So obviously this has had a significant impact on our expenses. During the last fiscal year, our budget was $133,000. For the current fiscal year, we budgeted $210,000, and we've spent over $195,000 for the year to date. The food pantry is funded solely through grants and contributions, and we are very, very fortunate to live in such a generous and caring community. As I go through donations, I said recently, one of the hardest tasks I have is trying to find better ways to say thank you to the people that support us. And although we purchase much of our food at low cost through the New Hampshire Food Bank, everybody has been struggling with the increased prices. So inflation has increased those costs. Supplies have been somewhat limited from the food bank. And that's caused us to have to purchase more food at market prices. So the demand and consequently our expenses have increased substantially. However, we are requesting level funding in the amount of $15,000. So as always, I ask for your favorable consideration of our request, and I thank you on behalf of the Board of Directors, our extraordinary hardworking volunteers, and most of all on behalf of the very grateful clients we serve.
Thank you. Any questions? Just a general question for the public. How do folks get a hold of you if they want to sign up for your program or have questions about it?
They can either just show up on a distribution day, they can call us at
What days are those distribution
the
days?
first and third Wednesdays of every month. And they can contact us on our website, Life Ministries Food Pantry.org.
Great. Thank you so much for coming in.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Okay, Casa.
Good evening. My name is Tara. I'm the Development Associate over at CASA of New Hampshire. CASA is court-appointed special advocates, and we provide volunteer services to victimized children between the ages of birth and 21. These kids are going through the court system through no fault of their own, and they need a voice in court, so our legally trained volunteers represent just the child during these cases. They only care about the child's best interest and getting them into a safe and permanent home. We are asking for $2,000 from the town of Wolfeboro. This is to support one new advocate from the town. There is currently a need for Wolfeboro. We have advocates who live in this community serving children. We also have advocates from outside of the community coming in to support Wolfeboro children, so that we don't have to refuse any cases in this area. We have had a significant increase in cases in fiscal year 23 compared to fiscal year 22. So everywhere is feeling this need that we provide. Are there any questions that I can answer yet?
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
We pay county taxes to support Carroll County.
Yep.
You're getting money from Carroll County. Why should we pay twice?
We are not actually getting funding from Carroll County.
You're not getting $10,000?
Not that I'm aware of. They haven't told us yet. I applied this year for funding, and I have not been made aware if that has been approved or not.
I think you're on the list to possibly get. I'm not sure, but I think I saw your name there.
Okay.
Do you have any objection? I just don't want us to pay twice.
Yeah. So the way the funding from the county works is that goes to towns that are within that county to support the ones who don't pay. Not all of the towns in Carroll County fund CASA. I'm trying very hard to fix that. But if there's a town who doesn't support CASA, we supplement with county funding from that, along with private grants and donations that we receive.
Do you know which towns don't support CASA?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I can send you a list. We recently got Ossipee to support. That's the newest town. They had not been funding in the past. I knocked on the right door and found the right person to answer. So county funding goes to support the overall county advocates. If we need additional advocates in a certain area, we'll increase our advertising in that space. If a town does not fund CASA, we'll try to support the advocates through county funding. Your Wolfeboro dollars will support advocates in Wolfeboro. They won't support advocates in Ossipee or any other Carroll County. They'll stay to support the recruitment and support of the current and new Wolfeboro applicants.
Because I think this year is your first year to ask the county for money, that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, it is. I started with CASA in '21, and they had not been funding, so I was trying to get in the right door for several counties. We actually, out of all the counties in New Hampshire, only 2 currently fund CASA, and I'm trying to fix that.
What are those 2 counties?
That would be Cheshire and Rockingham.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
No.
Thanks for coming in, appreciate it. Okay, let me see here. Dinner bell, please.
Evening. I'm Bill Peterson. I serve as the rector across the street at All Saints Church, and we have been hosting the Dinner Bell program since its inception, and we have been managing its finances for the last decade. The goal of Dinner Bell is really knowing that hunger presents itself both in a physical and relational way. We strive and bring people together to feed them for a community meal one night a week, as well as to bring folks in so that they can spend time with others. A lot of our folks that come live alone and don't get out, and so this is both a social and a meal, a literal meal. We are funded by the town. The town provides $6,000. We're asking for level funding again this year. That roughly covers, not completely, our chef. We have one paid person that prepares the meals. It doesn't quite cover that cost directly. That is paid at a below market rate. We have a retired executive chef that is willing to work at a below market rate. And then we do collect money at the tables. It's a free will offering, and that offsets some of the food cost. But this year the church is covering almost $5,000 in uncovered costs. And so we have not asked for more money this year. I will let you know, as I let the Board of Selectmen know, that we will ask for more money next year. You all know what your food costs and budgets at home have gone up in the last 2 years, and we're experiencing the same thing. But it's a great way to reach out to our neighbors. And Thursday evenings, 10 months out of the year, at 5 o'clock, you're welcome to come out and have dinner in the parish hall across the street. Questions from me at all?
Thank you for what you do.
Any questions?
No.
Thanks again for coming, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Very well.
Okay. Grant V&A.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Julie Stone, and I'm the Vice President of Strategy at Granite V&A, formerly known as Central New Hampshire V&A, with an office located here in Wolfeboro. Last year, we provided home care and hospice services, clinical visits to more than 2,300 clinical visits to both home care and hospice patients. What that means is if someone has endured a medical event, an illness, or some kind of surgery that requires recovery at home, we provide therapists and nurses to come into their home to help them to recover. We also provide hospice services in individuals' homes. So those who are at end of life and require care to be supported, as well as bereavement care for loved ones up to 13 months past their loved one's passing, we provide those services as well. These services are provided regardless of someone's ability to pay. As a nonprofit, we provide services to people whether they are underinsured, uninsured, or whether they have the means to pay for those services. This year, we're coming to you and requesting level funding in the amount of $22,000. This last year, we have seen a slight increase over the prior year in the number of services that we have delivered, and we expect to see that grow as the population ages.
Thank you. Any questions for Grant V&A? Thanks for coming, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. Okay. Children Unlimited.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shelley Rondeau. I actually work for Granite V&A as a pediatric nurse, but I am subcontracted through Children Unlimited for their comprehensive family supports program. So they asked me to come and present to you for this. The Comprehensive Family Support Program provides home visits to any family with children under the age of 21. We currently have about 5 families in Wolfeboro that we are serving. They get anywhere from, they get a nurse visit, they get a parent educator visit, they get resources, they get whatever, basically whatever we can help them, provide them to have the children grow and develop. Children Unlimited is requesting their level funding of $2,730 for the Family Resource Center to cover the rest of this comprehensive family support program. Any questions?
Thanks for coming in, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Excuse me, Chairman. I believe on December 18th, you made a motion to zero this line item out, so I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, we can eventually get to that.
Okay.
Anyone else from any of the agencies? See, the only one that we have left is, I believe, is Tri-County Action, Community Action, and they're going to come our meeting in January. Thank you.
Thank you all.
You want a motion on that?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to allocate $2,730 to Children Unlimited.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Finance Director, you want to go over some of the documents that you provided us tonight?
Sure. First, I'd like to say the town manager unexpectedly was not able to attend tonight's meeting and asked me to sit in for him. I believe he did communicate that to the chair and vice chair. On your table in front of you, there's a few different documents that I've given you. I've given you the revenue, which is a 3-page sheet. This is 2024 estimated revenues. We can go over that shortly. I've also given you 2 other documents, the default budget that goes to DRA and the backup document for that. Chairman also asked me to give you a list of the cuts that were previously made to the 23 budget. And I've also given you a snapshot of where we are right now as the Budget Committee stands after your changes before tonight. Would you like me to start?
Sure.
Specifically at revenues? Or?
Yes, please.
All right. So this document here on the top is 2024 estimated revenues. In column number, the first number, column with numbers in it is the approved revenues for 2023. The second column is a summary of what's in column number 1. It's based on the DRA form MS 434. The third column of numbers is the actual revenues that have come in as of 12/22, which was last Friday when I prepared this worksheet. And then the next column is 2024 estimated revenues, which is where you should focus your attention on. And then the last column is a roll-up of the 2024 estimated revenues based on what would be on the MS 434 form. As a placeholder, we leave the taxes the same. We base our estimated revenues on the budget or the actual revenues that have come in year to date. We do have a chance in the fall to adjust revenues before the tax rate is set. If something, if we got more revenues or less revenues, that would be the time to set it up. We are not done booking 2023's revenues. The state rooms and mails just came in, so as you see, it's 0 came in, but we just got it this week. And there's other items on the end that would have to tie into any warrant articles. If warrant articles are approved or changed, they might have some offsetting revenues. So the Budget Committee does not need to take action on this, but if you'd like to discuss any of these, I'd be happy to answer your questions. I will point out that on Wednesday, January 3rd, that we are having the Board of Selectmen is having a public hearing to increase solid waste user fees. And overall, the board and the town manager are going to be looking at some fees and seeing if they haven't been changed in a while. Maybe we look at updating them in the future. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do. Just about the user fees, is that just for the stickers? Is that what we're discussing here, what they would be discussing, or?
That is not what I recall. The
Okay.
Public Works Director is here, but I think he's doing others also, right?
All right, I can wait
Yes.
on that.
Yes.
All right, it's a little more involved, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a question on the SDU payment for the SRO. There should be 2 SROs, correct? Why isn't that indicated on the as a
Okay,
revenue?
so in the 23 budget, you're looking at I'm taking you where John's looking, the chair's looking, on the bottom of page 2 in the first column. I called that out separately because it was a standalone warrant article last year. But if you look up in miscellaneous police, at the top of that page on the right-hand side, you'll see $75,000. So it increased from 50 to 75. That picks up that 22,000. I'm sorry if I felt I just was not clear. So we had it out separately because it was a standalone warrant article. Now I've rolled it into the income for police up in the top right of page 2, 75,000.
Okay.
It was a $50,000 revenue, and now it's 75.
And that reflects an accurate formula that was in that warrant article that was discussed before the warrant was done.
Yes, that was the estimated based on what they hoped that person would work.
Yeah, there was a formula that was...
Right, but if that person doesn't work, it might be, you know what I mean?
Do we have any more payments coming from Pop Whalen? Or are they all paid up, or do we have any more money coming?
No, we definitely have more money. We would have, December doesn't come in till January, maybe even February.
So where would those revenues show up on here?
They're on page...
Page 2. 21.9 donations. Friends of Bob Whalen.
No. It would be on page 3, way down the bottom, Pop Whalen Fund. It's not broken out by all the items. It's just a gross number there. So you have to remember, this was done as of 12/22. We might have not even got in all of November's fees, and then we'd have to get in December's fees in January. We will be posting additional revenues through January and February.
And what will the fund balance be for next year? You got any idea, roughly?
Nope, we're unable to anticipate that. We have to wait till the revenues all come in, the expenses all come in. I believe it'll be a couple million, maybe $2 or $3 million favorable.
What, at this time, we're not going to use any of that to offset the tax rate or anything like that?
The Board of Selectmen has not made any final decisions on that, but there are no warrant articles that are going to use fund balance.
I hope there never will be ever again.
That would be my recommendation also, but just for the public, what this does, instead of using fund balance to buy something or to fund an appropriation, you can use fund balance to take down the tax bill. So come the fall of next year, the Board of Selectmen now knows what their actual fund balance is, and they can apply some money to the tax bill and actually bring the tax rate down by that money. So it is just a different use. I understand Wolfeboro used to do it that way and has done it this way for a while, and I believe the board is in favor of not using it to fund appropriations in the future.
Thank you.
I will say that for the Board of Selectmen. And the other thing is when you set the tax rate, you have DRA there. They agree with your auditor on what you can use. So we can't get into this, disallowing that we got into this year because everybody's at the table.
As long as the audit is timely.
Bob, do you have something?
Just a quick question. Yeah. The income of police that you referred to on page 2, that 50 that's now 75, is that just the SRO share from the school district, or is there anything else in there?
No, that would be other things too. It's some fees and fines and stuff. It's anything that they're taking in.
Okay, so it's kind of
Yeah.
a multi-generational pot.
Yes, if you wanted a detail, I know that the police department keeps it, we just put it all in one bucket.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
John,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. So Casey, thanks for this document on the far right column, the one next to the arrow that you said pay attention to, the one to the right of that.
Mhm.
This is the document you file as anticipated revenues, right?
Well, first of all, when we finalize this budget, the MS 737 is going to have all the budget, all the warrant articles, and it's going to have the first estimated revenues. So when I say 434, that's really the final in the fall when we finalize the revenues.
So this will be the revenue report. So then my question is, there's a lot of blanks here, and some of them are pretty obvious, that, you know, interest on property taxes, but why would leases, and I draw my attention to railroad station, dockside, just rents, why are those not put in as revenues?
They are. So the last column, which is why I asked you to focus on the second to last one, is a summary. So all the numbers to the left of it, all the way up to the top summary number, are rolled into that number. That is what's reported on the DRA form.
Okay.
You don't report all these, 100 items on the DRA form. It's rolled up in a number. And it's usually based on the first 3 digits, like 335.
Yep.
So there might be 5 of those accounts that roll up onto the DRA report. So these 2 columns are identical. They're just one's in summary form, one's in more detail.
And then just a comment on the donations, Friends of Pop Whalen, 2023, $2,190,000, 2024 estimated blank.
Yes, because it was estimated in let me get my years right. It was estimated to come in 22, and not come in 23, right? So that's why we got in this predicament. I had my spending and my revenue budgeted in 22, and in 23, it'll be taken out because it really has nothing to do with this. It's going to go towards our unassigned fund balance.
2 more, John? That's okay?
Yeah.
And did I get the number right? So the train station rent is $333 a month? And the dockside is 10 times that, $3,000 a month?
Those are accurate numbers of what's coming in, so I would have to say not per month, per year.
Well,
You're breaking it down. 5, yep.
It's $4,000. I just did it divided by 12.
Yep.
So it's $333 a month for the train station rental. And the dockside is $40,000 a month. $40,000 a year, $10,000 a month, roughly speaking. Okay, thank you.
Your last statement, not 10,000 a month.
No, it's 10,000.
Yeah.
It's $40,000 a year for the rental of the dockside.
Correct.
Which is 10 times
Got
the
it.
monthly
Sorry.
rental of the train station.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
One more, John, from me. Catherine, on the third page, on the third column from the right, bond proceeds, but the fourth column down, $7 million. That would be from the proceeds, that would be from the public safety building?
Yeah, that's the second half of anticipated funds I'm going to go out to bond for, as long as we don't get any grants or anything.
Yeah.
And that's why we split it up. We didn't want to take out the whole bond in case there was any grant money coming in. I'm unaware of any at this point, but in case.
You have that in 23, then, but are you doing another one in 24 to finish this up? Or was it 22, 23? I got to my years.
It's 23, so right now I took out 8, and then I'll take out 7.
In 24?
24, yes.
Okay. But, okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, we all set on the estimated revenues?
I just want to say, if you have any questions, you can email me, and I'd be more than happy to answer them on that. Moving on to default, John?
Yeah.
Okay. So the default budget, if you would just, I just would like to give the definition. Default budget means the amount of the same appropriations as contained in the operating budget authorized for the previous year, reduced and increased as the case may be by debt service, contracts, and other obligations previously incurred or mandated by law, and reduced by one-time expenditures contained in the operating budget. One-time expenditures are appropriations not likely to recur in the succeeding budget. I believe I got this from New Hampshire Municipal Association. So you should have two documents in front of you. One is the actual form from New Hampshire Department of Revenue. At the top of it says 2024 MSDTB. It's in draft form only because the Board of Selectmen just approved it this evening. So I will be finalizing this and getting their signatures and sending it off to DRA. The important document is the backup to this document. The top page is a summary sheet, and it walks you from where we were to where we are at default budget and to where the Budget Committee's budget is as we stand right now. The operating budget approved was $31,325,890. The default budget, and you'll see the details on the back in a moment, is $33,300,799, which was approved by the Board of Selectmen this evening. The Budget Committee, as it stands before tonight's one motion, is at $34,419,415. The difference of $1,118,616. A lot of numbers. If you turn the page, what we do is we start with the operating budget that was on the ballot that was approved. We back out any one-time items, most of those being the capital outlay items that were approved last year, and then we add in all contractual items. This template was followed last year, so there's not a lot of new things that jumped on and off the page, but stuff like the solid waste contract went up, property liability, health insurance, assessing service. The fire truck lease was outside the operating budget. It was a standalone warrant article, so we've got to bring it into the actual operating budget. There's also some decreases. Heat, oil, fuel came down because we got some favorable rates there. And we did break this down for all general, water, sewer, electric, and Pop Whalen. The difference between what was approved last year and all these changes and what we approved this year is just shy of $2 million increase. If by any chance the default budget passes, just for the general fund, we'd be off $1.1 million. Some of the big ticket items, if the vote is approved default, would be stuff like we wouldn't be doing the revaluation. We wouldn't be doing the additional ambulance service. We can only keep in the budget that was in 23's budget. There would be no union raises. Cable channel would not get their increase. Milfoil would not get their increase. There'd be no town-wide wage and benefits study. The taser lease would need to be readdressed, and highways and streets would lose about $146,000. So those are some of the big drivers of what the town would not be able to do if the default budget was passed.
Casey, if the default budget passes, how are we supposed to have ambulance service if we're short $700,000 there?
That is the problem.
No.
We would not have the money to do it. If the board could shuffle around $500,000 and find it in the budget, I don't see how that's possible, but that is, that would be a dilemma, a very large dilemma on this town. And just to be clear, and I mentioned it at the selectmen meeting, we did get legal opinion. I did not include the incremental cost of the ambulance in here. The town manager and I agreed it didn't belong in here. We did get legal opinion that it shouldn't be in there, just to confirm that, because it's a separate contract, it's not an extension of the current contract, and it's drastically changing.
Could you do a special town meeting just on that topic? If people wanted to put that money in individually?
I've never done it before, John, but the town manager and I got legal approval to add that verbiage to the operating budget where you can petition the court to have a special meeting. I don't think it's just on one item, though. It would be on the whole operating budget.
Okay.
But I've never done that before.
If it went to the default, or we didn't have money for the ambulance, they could call a special town meeting.
We wouldn't have enough money for the ambulance contract upgrade from Stewart's.
if we don't pay that money, we're not gonna have an ambulance. That's my
For
understanding.
the ambulance contract upgrade from Stewart's, there's a bunch
Correct.
of ambulance conversations.
Right, this is, I'm sorry,
in the wind.
Stewart's one, the one that we currently have.
The 750, which
Yeah.
is in the budget now, which is with Stewart's, that's what we're
And
talking
the
about.
increment on that is 500,000, 300,000.
It would go back to the 275
So the
that we spent
increment
this
is
year.
500,000. And now your question would be at the.
475.
All right, 500, 475. At the deliberative session, what could
Now, if
happen?
the, say the default budget kicked in,
Yeah.
that they could have a special town meeting just to address maybe that issue and a couple other things.
But you have to petition the court
Mhm.
to do that, and then you have to have a full election. It'll cost maybe $3,000 or more to run a special election.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying what if, yeah.
That's part of what it all entails.
3,000
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
500,000?
So,
So, no.
if I may, so we added recently, so it might not be on the documents you have, but the wording to the operating budget, which is legal and, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Going back to, I don't think it's just fire, or,
Right.
you know, ambulance, or it would be the whole operating budget. Without that language there, we wouldn't be able to do it, but with that language there, we could do it at a cost. You have to go through this whole budget cycle to do
Sure.
this all over again. It's not just
Yeah.
one little meeting and we're done. You have to have public hearings and deliberations and, you know, a meeting in Great Hall with ballots and everything, is my understanding, because I've never done it before,
My
but,
understanding too.
That would be hard.
Bob, did you have something?
So I just was wondering, could we put forth a warrant if the budget defaults? If we could put just a warrant for the Stewart upgrade for that other 500,000?
So you do a warrant article says if there is a default budget,
Right.
that we add X amount to that default budget.
I mean, why not just create a separate warrant to keep us from having to have a special meeting?
Casey?
because you'd be raising and appropriating the money twice.
No, if the budget does not pass and you end up on a default budget, the warrant article takes effect.
The operating budget passes and this new warrant article passes, you've now got two.
No, it's,
And then you would put on it,
On
it
it.
is null and void if the regular
If the-
operating budget, and you
Yes.
put that
That's what she
amount
said,
in.
yeah.
That's what Bobby just said.
Yes,
Yeah,
you-
that's what Bobby said.
yeah.
Why couldn't you do a standalone warrant article just for Stewart's?
And take it out of the.
Take it out of the, I would think most people would say, yeah, we gotta have this, we gotta spend this money, that, I don't know, that's,
I think that's a gamble. I mean, because if people pass that over, that could be confusing. But I'm just saying, if we end up in the default budget, protecting that ambulance service is important for this town.
Bobby's
So-
way to do it is probably the cleanest, because, yeah, people would say, oh, why am I gonna pay again for an ambulance if it's already, they wouldn't realize that we pulled it out.
But aren't you advocating for a default budget then?
No.
Yes. Yes, you are. That's my opinion. You are. You're saying, give me the default budget and we'll get our ambulance over here.
Sure, sure.
go ahead.
No, again, I apologize, I'm a little slow with this kind of stuff. So this is the contract that is a bridging mechanism to get us to a business plan that we're gonna see sometime in the future that's gonna say the town of Wolfeboro should get into the ambulance business. That's all out there. Near term, next year, if we don't pay the incremental $500,000, we have no ambulance transport for 911.
The one.
You get one or you get?
I don't, and we have zero.
You get zero, that's
Because
what
we
I
have
thought.
no
I'm a
contract.
little slow at this.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't think there's, well, at least this person would say, that's not a good idea, to have no ambulance service. But there's a lot of discussion on getting to a default budget, and I like Bobby Budman's idea that says you put a warrant that says if the town votes for a default budget, then the increment is funded for the ambulance service business. It's last year's contract plus the increment in the warrant. If the town does not vote for a default budget, this warrant article is null and void.
Yep.
that avoids the $3,000 and the 48 special meetings and all of that, this is too hard, we really can't do conversation, which really doesn't make a bunch of sense.
Oh, I didn't say,
Oh, boy.
Well, this is the default budget.
what is happening?
How is that? I don't think so.
No kidding, but why? Are we paid? state
Barry got the
pass?
word that we're gonna next.
Did we state pass our intended?
Okay, everybody turn on their smartphone batteries.
Well, our
So-
generator.
We have library doesn't have a generator?
I'm fine.
I can tell you it's out at my house.
John, when the lights come back, I just have another half a light.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, thanks.
This is hilarious.
How do you know they're coming?
I wonder if we raise the shades and put on headlights.
They had a, an underground power supply that was.
So they don't put in their cars.
No, I lost internet from the library.
I'm using this.
Because we
Good
was
idea.
powering the line.
I lost library internet.
Trying to find out where.
Got plenty of power, so.
Right?
Pretty sure there's probably something here. All right.
So since we're here, can I,
It's out in Tuftonboro too, there was an accident somewhere, and I guess it's out in Tuftonboro because my wife said people online are already saying that. And but it's on, and I'm a mile up North Main Street, it's on
you
there.
can go to your house.
Yeah.
So the other if I could, maybe I'll finish. The other option is that if the town were to vote for a default budget, and there was not a warrant that was either proffered or passed for the ambulance, the town would have to either A, go find $500,000 in the budget that was
Correct.
left, or B, do this $3,000 and we're gonna have to go, oh, this is really hard, we really shouldn't do this.
I want to, if
And
I,
so
if
3,000, so
Paul, may I- if I
500,000 on a
alluded that
$30
it's
million
hard.
budget is not a lot of money.
I'm just saying that's the process. I think
Yes.
that's what
Okay.
people were
Yes.
saying, that's the process.
Yes.
Not that it's so difficult,
Right.
that's what the process is.
And you could word it differently, you don't have to say if the default budget is, you could say if our ambulance contract is not fully funded
Right.
for this year, so you don't have to say default to Casey's point, because her point says you could be setting people up to vote for the default budget.
Yeah, my point is, there's optionality here, either through a warrant or the town has to find 500,000 and.
Well, it has to find $1 million in order to function.
The incremental 500,000.
but everything, we're not doing it, and all the things I mentioned, I
Yes.
Yeah, no, I got all
justified.
that, all that other stuff, we're not gonna do.
Yeah.
But can I just say that maybe we discuss this under warrant articles? Because I think this discussion was just supposed to be about the default.
So this isn't the right time to talk about it.
It is my opinion. I'm not trying to shut down
But it's a
conversation,
good
but.
idea.
What did you say? I'm sorry?
It's a good idea to think about. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it isn't, but, we're trying to wordsmith the warrant article. I think we need
Exactly.
the legal opinion, the selectmen, how they feel about it.
The only concern I would have if we do what Bobby says is say that fails. Now you're going to go to a judge and say, well, we got to have this. Well,
Right.
we already did this. You already asked the people, and they said no. So.
The judge is gonna say you can't ask.
Right, come on. It may, you could fail.
I don't even think you can, right? Because no means no, isn't that
Yeah,
law?
that's what it is,
Yeah.
you know.
So, it's just, it is what it is. I think our job is to advocate for the budget we've presented.
John, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Catherine, I thought the second thing you mentioned was union raises. Did I catch that correctly?
Non-union raises tax and
Oh,
pension.
it was non, so
Non-union, yes.
everybody who's an administrative assistant who's not covered by one of our unions will not get a raise.
That's correct. So anybody in the ASME or the NEPBA, which is the police union, they are contractually getting a raise. It would be everyone else who's what I call
They will
non-union.
not be, okay.
Because they are in the budget, so we do back them out for default.
Okay, thank you.
Is our guy still recording over here?
What are you recording?
A lot of red lights there, and I was wondering.
You got night vision.
Can I ask another one?
Sure, certainly, Paul.
Casey, in one of these pieces of paper that I can't read anymore, there was a, you know, I always like to see the big stuff being identified and the small stuff being not identified. But in this particular one, the big stuff in the default budget that would come out or was involved was something called, and maybe you just answered the question, other approved labor. What is other approved labor? $563,000.
So I took all the 100s and backed out like the union contracts. If you look over to the right-hand side, there's a little box over there.
It says see red box below, but mine's in black and white.
Okay. But
Is that
right
the red
under
box under it?
right under it says red box below. So
Okay.
if you look right below, I did a reasonability check.
Yeah.
That would not be part of the document that goes forward, but it shows you why. So in that, it would be the school resource police officer,
Yep.
because we voted, the voters said yes to that. The ASME contract year 1 and 2, because again, that was a standalone outside the budget. The any PBA year 1 and 2,
Yep.
and a firefighter for half a year last year and a half a year this year. So out of the 563,000, I've identified those pieces by 496. The other 67,000 could be, little, you know,
Yeah.
this person got a
Stuff.
raise or came in higher than, you know,
Yeah, stuff.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
So with the reasonability check, I balanced in my
So
head.
the big driver of the fixed cost, there's two big drivers, is that total as well as the mortgage payment, which goes up $565,000.
The debt service payment,
Yeah,
we don't
debt
pay a
service.
mortgage. And then right under it, it's similar, the sewer fund operating
Yep.
transfer, because the sewer fund's bond, debt went up, the general fund has to absorb
Yep.
that.
Paul, what are you looking at? Could you tell me?
Oh, I'm sorry, so if you take the big, you take the thing with the big numbers
Okay.
on it,
Yeah.
go to the second page, which is details. If you look at the second page,
Got it.
it's got all the details on it.
That is this 2-page document will be attached to DRA's form.
Yep,
It pretty much is a walkthrough on how we got there.
yep. John, can I ask another question?
Certainly.
So, let's just forget about the default budget, just for the sake of the conversation. If someone were to proffer a motion to take the 2024 general fund budget to $17 million, would that not be able to be passed, or not able to be moved?
I guess you're saying, can the budget committee make a $2 million budget cut?
Sure.
They certainly can.
Okay, I'm just, I'm just trying to understand what optionality here. I understand the default budget, but if someone were to say, let's make the 2024 budget for the general fund the same as it was in 2023.
No, it wouldn't be the same as 23, it would be the same as default budget,
Oh,
because,
so it can't go below the default. That's kind of what I was getting.
right, we're committed to the default budget.
We're committed to 18. We're
Yeah, the
committed to
top is 18, the
18,762.
33.3 at the
Got
bottom,
it.
yes.
We're committed to 18,762. So we can't go below that.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I've justified those numbers
yeah.
based on the backup.
Yeah.
Casey, I think
I got it. Thank
some
you.
of the union contracts would have something that could catch on at the end if the funding wasn't made possible by the town.
I'm sorry,
I think there's probably a catch on the union contract that says that it's contingent on the funding of the town, us doing that. Setting the money aside. If we don't set the money aside, I don't think we have an issue.
Is that a question or is that a?
I guess
is that
that's a
fact?
question. I know some of the contracts I've seen, employee
Yeah.
contracts, they have that in there for the town, in case there's some type of crisis where the town can't afford to do it.
not in these two contracts as far as I'm aware of.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, I think actually, I'm not going to think of the name, when you Sambertise, right, and it was a Hudson thing, you have to call out both years on the warrant last year, and so that is the money that we're using. They could have hired or higher or lower than that, but that's the actual budget that was reported last year. So there is no opt-out clauses, I think is how I'm interpreting your question, John?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So it's a multi-year contract that was approved in the warrant.
That's correct. We only raised and appropriate year one last year, but I believe it's amortizing, and you have to say all costs for all years on the contract, on the warrant, and that's the practice that the Wolfeboro's followed.
John?
Yes, sir.
Question? Is overtime in the default budget? An assumption of overtime, in other words, what we did in 2023, we just copy it over to 2024?
Yes. The basis of the operating budget last year has overtime in it. So if a department increased it or decreased it,
Right.
it doesn't matter, the increase or decrease. But if they put 10,000 in an overtime line, based on the verbiage I just told you and the operating budget, it was approved for that, my example, 10,000, they get 10,000 this year. They might have needed 15, but they're only getting 10. And that's what they would have to work with.
So John shared with us early on in the budget season an overtime report, and I have one here that says, so we have almost $525,000 in overtime in this town through the month of December. So that would be copied over into the default budget?
No, what you're reporting on is actual.
Yes.
What would copy over is 23's budget to 24's default.
Do we know what that difference would be?
I could get it, no, I don't have it in front of me. But overtime is also a function, you just can't look at that line item. If police, I'll pick on police, is down 2 police officers
Sure.
all year long, you're gonna have favorability up on their salary line or their hourly line, and yet overtime is gonna be like, oh my God, you spent 50% more than you should have. Or somebody's out on disability, or, open positions. Some, especially the 24/7 organizations, they've got to backfill it with a body.
I've got Steve's explanation. I was just wondering if we just copy over actuals into next year's, or do we copy over budget into next year's? And if we're copying over budget, it would,
Budget for default.
it would be nice to know what that number was or is.
Are you clear on that answer? We copy over budget.
I got it.
23 operating to default 24.
I got it.
In 24 actual, it's what they asked for or what was approved.
It had to be darn close to budget, because you can't blow your overtime line. You have to pick it up someplace else, right? Or you get it through grants.
Yeah, or if you have overtime, and as they were saying, you're not paying something out of part-time.
Yeah.
You just shift it from one line to another.
I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to figure out, do we have optionality here if the voters were to say, take it to the default? The ambulance question is on the table, which is a big question. I'm just trying to understand what our optionality is.
So our optionality is that the Board of Selectmen will be delivered a bottom line budget, and they can move the money
They can
around.
do anything they want.
Right. And the year I came in 2005, was a default budget.
Right.
And as soon as we got there, we went through the lines and we cut
Yeah,
the lines
right.
that day,
Understood.
and that's what they had to function under.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily go to the default budget. The board can shuffle it all around anyway. That's my experience in other communities also, Linda, is that, management, first starting with department heads, would get together, what can you do without, what can you, and then the board would approve on it.
So you'll have a default budget which has cuts in it from what you asked, and then you've got to
Then you
make
got
up.
to figure out the rest.
Yeah.
John, can I ask one last question?
Yes, sir.
So several weeks ago, the town did an amazing job, and I mean that without tongue in cheek, an amazing job trying to figure out how to not get into this ditch with the DRA, whatever the right nomenclature is, disallowance, you can't spend the money on warrant articles. And within a couple of weeks, y'all came up with, you did a budget freeze like in the first of, I don't know, November.
November 21st.
Something like that. And you found $434,000. Something like
Can't
that,
seem
right?
to find my report. I don't believe that is correct.
Well, I'm looking at something that says 434.
256.
Shortfall needed.
Thank you. Yes, John asked me to hand that sheet out again. You previously got it, nothing has changed.
Okay.
If you look at the first number up the top, and I don't have it in front of me because I handed it all out to you. 71,000 is what hadn't
Yeah, you
been,
see, there's mine.
71,000 had not been spent on the,
That warrant article.
on that warrant article. So that's the first bunch of money we got.
Yep.
The next bunch of money we got, and we'll talk about that in depth, is 256,000.
Yep.
That was the money that the town manager and I sat with department heads
Yep.
and we identified, but I'd like to talk about that.
Yep.
Then there was an accrual leave that we tapped into for
Yep.
67,000, and we're hoping for some grant money for 39. All those components equal 434.
Sure.
But the 256, I think that's that number
Yeah,
there.
it is 256.
256, you know, some of those things, and it's very little, but there's some reasons behind them. It's not
Sure, of
all
course.
just extra money, it's
No.
not a padded budget. No, I would like to defend.
Go ahead.
Beaches is one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very rainy summer, so Parks and Rec was able to come up with a lot of money.
Right.
Cemeteries was another one. We couldn't get anyone to do the work, so
Sure.
there was some easy money to find. Doesn't mean I have to say my job, I know what the budget committee's job is. It doesn't mean it was over budgeted.
And I'm not suggesting for one
Nope.
minute that it was. I've sat on that side of the fence and I understand how hard it is.
Yep, and then
Well,
I think.
what I did is I took that 324 number, backed out the 71, and I said 253. You found it. It hurt. You did it. Could you do it again? I'm not asking for an answer.
No,
I'm just
but-
saying,
but
we're
to go
looking for
back to-
options here. That's all.
No, if the beaches are, you know, if we have heat waves all year long, if we have 40 million snowstorms, no, I'm not saying we could do it again.
It's up to the Board of Selectmen to figure out what to fund and what not to fund.
Right, and I think the thing is, cutting the budget or not spending some of that money is gonna cause issues with, they didn't buy some supplies or
Sure.
something. Another year, eventually you get to the place where we've got problems
Sure.
on trying to deal with it. Maybe we wouldn't be able to pick up some supplies we really need to function
Right.
from year on year too.
And right now, you know, it's only been 6 weeks, but I do know that there's some departments running out of, you know, shop supplies and, you know, we need, you know, I need paper to run my business, so.
75,000 of it also was part-time wages that we can't fill. We're looking for people to lifeguards to man the beaches, cemetery people to mow the lawns, living museum staff, everything. And the money has to be there in case we can hire the employees. It has to be available. That's a big chunk of it. That's probably almost a third.
There's no question that there are some real hard decisions that have to be made. This is a lot of an increase for the budget. And, you know, the Board of Selectmen went through, and you as a budget committee have that same, trying to figure out what can we cut and still maintain enough of the service. But this is going to be a hard budget for people to handle, I think.
What do we fund? What do we invest in?
What is our budget currently at right now with the cuts we've made?
Could you repeat that, John, please?
What do you currently have for our budget as it stands in your numbers?
You mean December's actuals?
Yeah, with the cuts that we've made.
Oh, with the cuts you've made.
Yeah.
It's on this document that I handed out.
With tonight, it's like $9,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
Yeah, you need my phone.
I just have to not be an idiot and figure out my phone.
Do you have a place for
I must, but how do I just say?
Is it an iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay, can you go?
10,000 minus the 2,700 or whatever we just did for
There we go.
Shelley.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm back. So the the Budget Committee has cut $10,958 out of the operating budget and $4,090 out of capital for a little bit over $15,000. If you turn the page to this document that I gave you that nobody asked for, you can see the motions that you made before today, and then you also gave police and fire a bottom line cut to do, and they have reported to me where the cuts would come from, so that's also outlined on this page. So even though you've only cut $10,958, there have been some activity in ins and outs on.
In the dark, what pages are you looking at?
So I handed something out, a two-page document. that walks you from last year's budget to budget committee member.
I got it.
And then afterwards, this is all the motions that I've tied out to your minutes.
Thank you.
But actually, that's $10,000 in operating, and Bob motioned to put Shelley's budget back in, so that actually is like $7,300.
That's correct. As I said, that's
So
before
the budget
tonight.
committee's cut $7,300 so far in operating.
Okay, so procedurally, are we still on default, or are we not going to do any business tonight, or just
What do
curious?
you want to do?
Other than minutes.
Say it again?
That was all that was on the agenda.
Well, I just didn't know if I was,
Oh, no, fire rescue, we were gonna do the revisit for the portable
I think we did that.
radios. we
Oh,
did
not the portable radios.
No,
No.
there is the tractor, the fire,
Yeah.
and park and rec tractor.
Yeah. So, so any other questions with default? Or,
No.
okay.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, so revenues and default, I've appeased you. If by any chance you look at these beautiful documents tomorrow and have more questions, I'd be more than happy to answer you. All right, and then, so I believe the town manager wrote a letter on December 22nd and handed it out to the budget committee. Would you want me to read it, or?
I've read it.
Is that the one that was sent out to us?
Yes.
Yeah,
I've read it. Does anybody?
I've read it.
All right.
Can we have a title of what the letter is?
Tractor leases / FD radios.
Yeah, okay, fine.
All right.
The town manager had to go back to Board of Selectmen on 3 different items. He did, and this memo is the position that the board took.
Right.
God bless anyone who's going to watch this meeting, huh?
What are they doing?
What are they doing?
And the people are watching it, they may not be.
We're working in the dark.
Yes.
Working in the dark.
Oh, I don't like that. I'm never in
What
the
do
dark.
we on, what you just addressed, Casey?
I didn't really say anything. I first said, do you want me to read the memo that the board, town manager sent out that's titled Tractor Leases and Fire Department Radios? Most of your committee said they read the memo. So.
We're all set on that, and I've got a motion now. As soon as she gets caught up here.
It was in our email.
You have a motion that you're making?
Yeah, as soon as I can see what I'm
Okay,
making a
yep.
motion about.
No.
Can't imagine what the problem is, but.
We got a message from the police department that there's a townwide power outage.
Yeah.
Please just tell me I can go back to Alton.
If it's Dunstable, you should be all
It
right.
should be in good shape. It's the 390.
Oh, no, I have a generator.
I think so.
But it's the 390.
I just, if that road is stopped, that's,
That's right.
I can't get home.
It's for burying the team.
And I ain't staying here.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion,
Okay, listening.
motion to delete or remove the skid steer for a price of $98,000.
Okay, so there's a capital
Capital
outlay
reserve,
for, the skid steer for $98,000. John's making a motion
I'll
to
second
not
that.
recommend the capital outlay, correct,
I'll
John?
second it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is this Public Works one or Parks
It,
and Rec?
it is Public Works and water. 50% coming from water fund and 50% coming from the Public Works Capital Reserve Fund.
Email it to you.
John,
Yes, sir.
just as a question for the potential voters, what would prompt somebody to be for or against this as a budget committee member? Just, just a rationale would help.
I went up to the highway garage the other day,
Yeah,
and we have so much stuff, and it's just sitting around. I went by this one that's got the, if I see something in the bucket, I figure that can move dirt if there's a bucket on it. I don't know what it's called or anything like that. I saw it parked in the garage. If you go out back, there's a couple of dump trucks out back. And I just think this isn't the time to go and buy any new equipment. We've got to start sharing with other departments. Everyone doesn't have to have their own little piece of equipment. They can share or borrow from another part of the town.
Can you weigh in on this for us?
Who are you asking?
Me?
Yeah,
I would
sorry,
love to.
Steve. Can
The
you-
Public Works Director, Steve Randall, is here in the office, and he's going to
Hey,
get a
John, thanks for doing
spotlight.
that. That
Look,
rational argument.
Sorry. Good evening, Steve Randall, Public Works. A couple things, John, to answer what you just said. As far as last week, I don't know what day you showed up, I've been on vacation this week, as have probably half the staff. We're also on a lockdown. 2 trucks parked out back are actually broke down. We are waiting till the first of the year so that we can open POs to fix them. We are sharing with another department on the water with the skid steer. That was the whole point. That's why 50% from the water fund and 50% from our capital reserve fund that we went through the process with.
What does a skid steer do?
So it's a track skid steer, compact, can move a lot of things. It will come with a mower. It'll come with the plow rig for the water department for the winter time to mow. To plow up at the water department, and then to mow their banks, to mow the banks at the solid waste facility, all the off-season waterline trails that we have.
And I remember we talked about this at our meeting.
Yes.
You contract out some of the mowing, don't you?
Yes, we do.
And it's very expensive.
It is.
And it's very unreliable.
So, and the other thing is our New Holland tractor that we use now, which is going away. This is replacing a piece of equipment we already have. We are not adding any pieces. We are just replacing what needs to be replaced.
And this does what the New Holland did and
And
multiple
more.
things.
Yeah, and more.
Extra.
Because that's the machine now that mows the trails, sorry, I keep saying trails, the cross-country water lines.
Yeah.
It can't mow the solid waste facility. Rubber tires won't work. It doesn't get any of the off-road stuff that we have, or sides of the road things that we have.
Question, John?
Yes, sir.
Steve, I don't know whether you got the number, you probably do, for outsourcing some of this mowing we're talking about, and what's the number on that?
So I want to say off the top of my head, we pay $4,000 just to mow the cap at the transfer station.
Let's talk about it on a year basis.
Yep. So-
Outsourcing mowing and other things that this piece of equipment is supposedly going to do for us.
That's
What's the offset? That's what I want to know.
Yep,
What do we
we
offset?
only spend $4,000 in contracted services right now. Everything else we do in-house with the machine that we're looking to replace. So if we don't replace it, we won't mow next year. Or we'll have to rent or hire somebody else to do.
Okay, so what I heard you say is that you would be offsetting a $4,000 yearly expense with a $96,000 piece of equipment.
Correct, spread over the next decade. It's got a life expect, actually 11 years.
Understand. All right, so I'll give you the $4,000 a year for 10 years is 40 grand.
Right.
Fine.
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned the New Holland tractor was rather dated, and that it's currently up at the Pop Whale.
Correct.
Does that have a bucket on it? And
Yes.
is it possible if you didn't get rid of it, that Parks and Rec could get some use out of that?
So they can. So since they have had it for about a month, we've had to put another, don't quote me on this number, but we've had to put another $3,000 into it. Every time it goes out, it breaks. It is beyond its life expectancy.
How old is it?
It is 23 years old.
How many hours on it, do you know?
That power meter's been broke for longer than I've been here.
So about 10 million.
Probably, if I had to, it's probably got 10 to 15,000 hours on it, without much exaggeration.
It's in the maintenance shed, Brian, if you want to go see it up at Pop Whale.
Have at it.
Yes, Tom.
If I could get back to Bob Lowe's question. $4,000 is being spent on outside service to do some cutting somewhere.
Yes.
If you don't get this new piece of equipment, you're saying you're going to outsource, you have to outsource all of the cutting in the
Correct.
town. That goes well beyond the $4,000,
100%.
Bob, or the committee. So it's not just 4,000 divided by $98,000.
Correct.
I wasn't suggesting that.
So,
I was just wondering what the offset was. And the only number I've heard so far is $4,000 a year.
no, it's all the cost of cutting, I guess, then.
Right, you know, all of our roadside mowing, we do have one.
Right.
But last summer, for example, we mowed with almost 3 pieces when we can keep them running. So maintenance or lack of has been a thing for a very long time. And that is something that we are trying very hard to correct. And this just follows that path. This was one of the things we identified a year ago when we redid the full capital reserve plan for replacement. This was the next piece identified along with one of the trucks and put into that plan and then scheduled out.
Will it be used monthly, weekly, or daily?
Daily. It'll be used daily.
I think this ought to come out of the capital reserve totally. The whole thing can come right out of the capital reserve. That's what it's there for.
But the capital reserve is not for the water fund. It has to be funded. It will not have an impact to the tax rate.
Linda, I'm just tired of always, this isn't gonna get done, this isn't gonna get done, this isn't gonna get done. I hear that on every budget we do, if we try to cut something, we try to save the tax funds money, this isn't gonna get done.
All I was answering your question is
And I
it
appreciate
cannot
that.
all go out of a capital reserve fund, but doesn't do those two things. That's all I'm responding to, not whether you should cut it or not.
Yeah.
But it cannot come out of the Public Works capital reserve, the full amount.
Well, they've been using the tractor over to Parks and Rec, and that's a capital reserve
That's
thing.
another thing here, okay?
Yeah.
That's not what's here, it's with the water. If it's with Park and Rec and then that's something different, but the one is written here, there's not a capital reserve for the water fund.
John?
Yes, sir.
So if I hear you right, seeing the way this thing is worded, it says 48,000 through DPW capital reserve appropriation. You're suggesting that the other 48,000 should also come out. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, I agree with that.
Can I just make
Absolutely agree with
a clarification? I believe that should be 49 and 49 because the original
98.
request was 98,000.
Okay, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the 48,000 to be paid through water fund user fees based on Mr. McDonald's motion would go away, and the whole total, be it 96, 98, whatever that number is, should come out of the DPW capital reserve appropriation, and I agree with that.
John?
Yes, sir.
So I'm confused and I apologize.
That's why.
I'm not sure we've demonstrated a need here. Steve, you're gonna have to do a little more. What we tend to do is we slide right past the need and we get into the, well, how are we gonna pay for this? Could we pay for it in lease? But John asked the question, and I think the question is the right question, and that is, do we have any buckets that we can share? Yes or no? And if we don't, why? And but trying to figure out how we pass the need around. We'll deal with this again when we talk about the next one. I think that's a slippery slope. Define the need. Help us, Steve. Define what we really need to do here, and convince this team, me too, that the need is real.
So
otherwise, it's just a want.
Okay.
And we shouldn't be funding wants.
So I can, in my mind at least, then, so I'm replacing it with a machine that has well over 10,000 hours on it that gets used all the time that I am replacing it with. So it's going to do even more than that. So the need for it is the fact that we have another machine that will run all the time. The fact that we don't do construction projects and we do maintenance projects, mowing, ditch cleaning, all these things are what this machine is for. Cross-country line mowing, so that they don't get overgrown, then a crew goes out and has to start cutting trees and stuff again to keep that stuff in check. Because over time, it has not been in check. So to me, that is where the need is. Now, I would like to address John's question. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this, but why not take it from, if the water department is going to use it half the time, why can't they pay for half of it? Because the Public Works Capital Reserve does not fund that equipment. The water department does. And that's already figured into the rate structure for this coming year of '24 to cover that $49,000 for the year. So I guess I'm confused as to what is the benefit of taking it out of the Public Works Capital Reserve, which has such a large volume of machinery and equipment to replace as it is? Why put that much more stuff onto it when it's gonna get used half the time by the water?
Yeah, I don't even know if that tractor is on the list to be replaced.
What tractor?
The one that you want to replace, HD 11 or 12 or whatever.
It is on the list.
I don't know, I haven't seen the recent list, so I don't know what's due now, what's not.
Gotcha. So they didn't get that updated. Okay. So there's a full updated list of the full inventory of everything in in Public Works, along with the water and sewer of every piece of equipment that we own that needs to be replaced and when it needs to be done.
You can email that to John?
Absolutely.
I think everyone should probably get a
We should
copy.
probably have that before we meet.
Yeah.
Those are always good
And I
things.
apologize because I thought you all got that. Because it had the capital reserve replacement plan over the next 10 years with the carryover with everything.
So that tractor's on the Public Works replacement list.
Yes, we went through CIP with it. We've done through every step.
Question on CIP, Joe?
Yes, sir.
So, you saw this in CIP, Mr. Moulton?
That is right. Did
And where did they come out on this? I don't have the CIP stuff here.
short strokes agreed with it.
Okay, kind of like just push it through.
Well,
But I think-
kind of like pushed it through, we discussed it, and it made sense, so we said, fine.
And I
The
think-
schedule, I'm talking about that whole overall schedule that Steve's referring to, which is basically the basis for which this was approved, because it appeared, based on the schedule of vehicle replacement, that it was well thought out.
Okay.
Therefore, we approved it.
Yeah, and Steve, I asked Steve to come out and put it together in another format, and he hasn't, and so you should definitely get it. He's done a lot of work at getting all the equipment, and I think it will make you feel a lot better if he gives that to you.
Yeah. Since Steve's on vacation this week, I will take that as a follow-up item to make sure Leanne gets it tomorrow for distribution.
Good.
Okay, I'd like to amend my motion. My motion, withdraw my other one, if Tom, you withdraw your second?
Correct.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to have the tractor be paid totally out of the Public Works Fund, Capital Reserve Fund. Will anybody second that?
Second.
Okay, and
On the motion, John?
Yes, sir.
Steve, did you say that that piece of equipment is not covered by the capital reserve fund?
It is.
Oh, it is covered?
Half of it is. I'm going to be very clear. Half of it is covered. The plan was put into place to cover for half of it,
Okay.
not the entirety of it. So if we're going to do the entirety of it, then that means that I need to go back to the drawing board
Okay.
to come up with another $49,000.
Okay.
Question
All right,
on the
so also on the motion, John, I'm in favor of the way it is. If the water department's using it half the time, then the water department should be billed for half the cost of this. And I'm on water, so I don't mind paying for it.
Can I?
Go ahead, Paul, do you have a question?
yeah, I just, for the motion itself, what gets accomplished by this, just financially? Maybe Casey, you could weigh in. What gets accomplished if this motion passes?
Well, I think he just said the $4,000,
40.
no, the 4 that he would have had to pay over the 10 years is 40, but also if this machine completely dies, we're going to have incremental costs, which I believe somebody over there in the dock pointed out.
I think there was a motion to not take any of these funds out of the Water Capital Reserve Fund, but to put the entire cost on the Public Works Department. What's the financial consequence of doing that?
I'm sorry, that wasn't his motion, I don't
It wasn't?
believe.
Or
He said to take it
It
out
was
of
his
the,
motion, wasn't it?
to
Was
take
that
it out of
your
capital reserve fund, right?
Right.
So that would be 0 tax impact to the tax rate, excuse me. That's shifting though 50,000 more out of tax rate dollars instead of taking out of water rate users. Okay.
Excuse me, if I may, I'm looking at this Public Works tractor verbiage in this document we're looking at. It says the Wolfeboro Budget Committee has requested the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen consider lease purchase of the Department of Public Works Water Department tractor rather than an outright purchase. If I hear John's motion correct, forget that paragraph. And what's going to happen, we're just not going to do, we're not even looking at lease purchase, we're looking at an outright purchase of the tractor, which will be paid from the DPW capital reserve appropriation. Did I get that right, John?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
I understand. So the lease purchase question, forget it. As far as John's motion is concerned, what he's talking about is an outright purchase to be paid for from the DPW capital reserve appropriation. Period.
Money we already have, no effect on the taxpayer, and the water rates going forward.
Exactly. That's. I just want to make sure I understood exactly where you were coming from, and now I do. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll
So
call.
I have a question.
Yes, Bob.
I'm sorry. So Casey, if it comes out of the capital reserve the way John's saying, is there just an interchange then within the town where you're going to be taking the funds from the water and giving it back to Steve's department?
No, I have no authority to do that. This motion goes through, he buys the piece of equipment, it comes out of his capital reserve fund, and puts him $49,000 behind his planned replacement schedule because he was only using half of it in the capital reserve.
So are you able, when you lend it to the water fund, are you able to bill them then? Are you able to recoup those funds in any way?
No.
Not that I know of.
And we've already built that into billing for,
Yes.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, again, I apologize, that was kind of the essence of my question. It all comes out of Steve's budget. It doesn't touch the water fund. The water fund's got to mow their own grass with their own machine.
So, so if we could back up for just a half a second. So back in April, we as department heads were tasked by the town manager to sit down and figure out this problem. We had 3 departments that all needed equipment. So between the 3 of us and how it got broken out, the water department and public works came to the conclusion that our shared interests were in line, which is where this came from. Parks and Rec wanted to go a different route. That is why they have their own. The 2 of us partnered on this to continue to move this piece forward. Because I wanted to use one basically in the summertime, and they needed it a lot in the wintertime, and we were going to share the use in between. So that we came down to a 50-50 split that fit my capital reserve replacement plan for the next decade that I have in place. We built in we ran it past for the user rates on the water. We made that all work to balance out at where we're at.
One last one. So my question earlier, what's the financial consequence of this, this motion? The financial consequence, as I think I understand, would be the water fund would have to find their own way to use some type of tractor capability. They could not borrow money, get loaned money from Public Works. It doesn't work like that.
Correct.
They'd have to go figure it out themselves. If that's true, that flies, John, to the motion earlier, that kind of flies in the face of sharing.
That's how we came up with the plan we did. That we have
That's
right
how
now,
I
is to share.
that's how I process it.
Look, it appears to me that there's one major problem here is DPW has got a capital reserve fund for just this kind of stuff. The water fund doesn't.
Correct.
And we have to go through this exercise of 40 or 49 grand paid through the DPW capital reserve and 49 to be paid through the water fund user fees because the water fund does not have a capital reserve account for equipment. And that appears to me the basis of this whole problem. If both of them had capital reserve, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Linda?
Yes, but the water fund is collecting the amount of money they need to buy this in their rates. It's been calculated when they did the rates, they looked at some of their warrant articles, their equipment, it's all in the sheet, and they accounted in their rate that they will have the money to pay for this.
No, I understand, but
But they don't have capital reserve.
I think you have to turn the light
It's
on
within
again.
their account.
Woo! Oh, oh my gosh, like being at the bar, last call.
is it possible?
Matt, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what?
Or Linda, I guess I'll ask you the question. Is it possible for an enterprise fund to have a capital reserve account for equipment?
Yes, well, yes, they have one for the wastewater treatment plant.
And so does the electric department.
They don't have one. The electric does not have a capital reserve. But yes,
But-
anybody, any purpose
So
could.
so an equipment capital reserve account can be established with the water fund?
Yes, but that right now wouldn't be factored into their.
No, I understand.
But yes,
I'm
yes,
just-
in
I'm
theory,
just
yes.
Educating myself
And
on
if-
how it
Could,
works.
but we have done it through putting it in
Go
the
ahead.
rate.
I understand.
Okay, that's the other thing, yeah.
But back to my point, that appears to be part of the issue here, is that because the water fund does not have a capital reserve account for equipment purposes, which could have done exactly what we're talking about here.
That's
You got
correct.
49, you got 49, 49 comes out of your capital reserve account, 49 comes out of yours. You can't do that because they're paying theirs out of the water fund rates.
Right. And
I understand that.
the cash is going to be there to cover it.
But that is how this is being done, correct?
How much rental did the water people have last year for renting equipment? You know,
How much rental?
that's must have been what they've been using, right?
No, they've been using the New Holland tractor that runs Public Works.
So I have a question.
Yes.
If all the money to buy this comes out of the Public Works Capital Reserve, are you still going to let the water department use the equipment?
Well, I'm never gonna say no, obviously, but they are an enterprise fund. So,
That's-
and it's my understanding that they should fund their own, that's how we treat it. They should be
So
funding their own projects.
If the Public Works Capital Reserve pays for the whole lot, and the water department is still using it, then the capital reserve, your capital reserve will be subsidizing the water department.
Correct.
And we're going,
And your capital reserve, if I may, is funded by the taxpayers,
Yes.
Correct.
and the water department's
Funded by the
payments would be funded by the
Users.
users.
and then to refund him, to make back the $49,000 that CIP had already looked at his schedule and said it's a reasonable schedule, it's coming from the taxpayers again.
So, and if you had it, and again, I apologize that you don't, if you look at my schedule that I have over the next decade, if we take and spend an extra $49,000 this year, I will have to redo all of that to try to balance that out again for the rest of the way. And it'll ultimately, it's just gonna keep costing more money.
The taxpayers fund the water department to some extent already.
Water users do. You could be a taxpayer and a water user, but not.
What about the sewers?
Same.
I'm one of those.
So I used to say in my old community, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a water payer, I'm a user payer, I'm a cable payer, but not everyone in the community is all four of those people.
We're all
If you have a
water
wa-
users.
What's that?
We're all water users. We paid for fire hydrants, $265,000 for fire hydrants.
But if you have well, you're not paying for the residential water, right?
We're paying for the fire hydrants.
We
Yeah.
still have
That's
a.
fire service.
Yes,
Well,
for the fire service, yes, we do.
okay, we all set. We'll do a quick roll call on that.
Reread the motion.
That the entire capital reserve be paid for the tractor of 90.
The capital outlay for the skid
90,000.
steer will be paid from the Public Works Capital Reserve Fund in its entirety. Good enough?
Yes, thank you.
I put solely.
Well,
Yeah.
you don't have to, you can critique me anytime you want.
That's okay.
Just need a minute.
Can you do a thing, Leanne, please?
Absolutely. Bobby Budman?
No.
Bob Tuffa?
No.
John McDonald?
Yes?
Tom Bell?
No.
Bob Mulholland?
No.
Ryan Black?
No.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Paul O'Brien?
No.
And Ryan
You
DeShays.
got Matt?
No, but.
Forgot me.
He said no.
Got
Did you
that.
say no,
Oh,
Brian?
Matt,
No.
sorry, I'm sorry,
I'm gonna say
Matt.
no.
No. And then Brian.
No.
So it failed.
Okay, failed. That stays the way it is then. Okay, the next one, I want to do a motion to remove $10,000 for the dumpster replacement. This is down as desirable.
Is that a capital outlay, John?
Yes, it
That
is.
is a capital outlay. The original request was 20,000 and the Board of Selectmen took it down to 10.
Any second for that?
John, I couldn't hear you.
It's to the capital outlay for $10,000. It's listed as a department priority of desirable.
I'll second for the conversation. What's the need?
So he's right, it's desirable. The reasoning behind it is as we are, right now, Casella does not charge us rent on our cans. As they need to be replaced, they're gonna start charging us rent. As we start to get, the goal will be to get to more independence in general. So the plan was to just start replacing the cans now before we had to. So I had 20,000 in there, they cut it in half, so we could start, at least buy one this year, buy one next year.
That create an issue?
Right now, at some point, it may create an issue, but if they start charging us rent on cans, we'll have to start paying rent on cans.
That sounds like a desirable.
Just a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
These are the three up at the transfer station?
Yes, we own the comps now, we own the comps for
Right.
the mass waste, but yeah.
And Casella's not charging us if one of them just, they're not going to deteriorate the next year, are they, you think?
It's hard to say, I don't know, so if they deem them
Safe for
unusable or
transport?
unsafe, right, then
Because
we'll
they
end up having to
pull
start
them
paying.
away and put another one in.
Correct, but those, if you look at them, those are sticking for us, they are designated for us. And if they become non-desirable, then, and I don't have a solid number on what they're gonna charge us for rent.
What is your approximate?
If I had to guess,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not gonna guess.
You can
The
move it.
lifespan of those computers?
Probably a few $100 a month, maybe. Yeah. Lifespans?
Yeah.
If you take care of them, they ought to at least last a decade. And I can't tell you how old those are up there, I have no idea.
A couple of years ago, we just dumped, what, Linda, 80 grand, 100,000 into that area to have that all done over with, repaved.
All the concrete.
Yeah, we did a lot of work
Yeah.
up there. Hadn't done much, I don't think that done much in years, but yes, we did, John.
No, they needed a toilet.
It was more than that. They did the, I don't know what you call it, but the up thing, all retard and everything.
Yeah, it looked like the moon up by where the cans are. The cement walls were falling down. They had no break room, no bathroom in their break room area, so they had to walk across the parking lot in rain and snowstorms just to use a toilet when they were eating lunch. They had no lockers to put their clothes. They had no heat in their break room building. They've been neglected for years.
Can we approve that?
It was a warrant article.
We put it
But most of the,
Why are we
It sounds
going
like
over
this
business?
thing though isn't.
Why are we going over real
absolutely needed.
business that was approved?
No, what we have right now is working 100%. That was to put in for future use, to try to stay ahead.
Question, Brian. You got a note in your existing dumpsters belong to Casella,
Yes.
correct? The fees for those are going up and we need to own our own. Okay, I understand. What are the fees?
That's what she just asked me. I don't have those solid numbers yet.
We're not paying.
I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know what they're gonna go up to. They're probably gonna be, if I had to guess, a couple of bucks a month.
What's the number we've been paying?
We don't. They are not charging us now. They will
You're
charge
about
us
to-
as
you're-
they
You're
have
about
to
to
be.
get banged.
As they need to be replaced by Casella, they will start to charge us.
Okay.
Do they need to be replaced now?
No, right now they're okay.
Okay.
My question comes then,
How many
is
yards are
Casella
they?
going to replace those?
I'm sorry?
Is Casella going to replace
They are not gonna replace them
Unless you tell them to.
until they fail. They will tell us when they're gonna replace them.
Okay.
We
so
have
don't-
no control over
So we
that.
don't know when we're gonna get whacked?
Correct.
Okay. We are at their mercy.
If we can't find, if something happens, if we can't find $10,000 in a $34 million budget.
100%.
To fix that, there's something.
No, yeah.
No, I agree.
No, I'm agreeing. Desirable.
Which is why he put desirable. He just wants it out there. He's done his job by asking for it, so.
Okay, anything else? Okay, roll call vote.
Can you read that?
To remove $10,000 in CRP for the purchase of dumpsters, the dumpster capital reserve for purchase of.
Capital outlay.
Capital outlay.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, Bobby Bunyan.
Yes.
Bob Tupper.
Yes.
Joe McDonald.
Yes.
Tom Bell.
Yes.
Paul Mulholland.
Yes.
Brian Black.
Yes.
Matt Flash.
Yes.
Bob Lohman.
Yes.
Paul O'Brien.
Yes.
Brian Shea.
I have to say no.
8 to 1?
No, 9.
9 to 1.
1.
And that's fine. Your job is to have.
Okay. Let's see what else. Anybody, while I'm looking, does anyone have anything?
Would it be appropriate to discuss the DRA letter that we received?
If you want to bring it up, I thought it was pretty self-explanatory, but go right ahead.
But I don't think everybody got it.
Oh, no, you guys think it's the DRA letter?
Is that?
Okay.
The DRA letter went to Chair, Vice Chair
I
Leanne.
sent it.
Okay, you did.
Point of information.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions about the DRA
Point,
letter?
point, fire rescue radios was on the list?
Yeah, anybody want to make a motion or anything concerning that?
John?
Yes, sir.
That was, I believe that was ditched by the select board.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, why, you know.
Everybody
here.
happy with that?
So we just go along with it, fine?
Up to you folks.
Quick question though.
Yes, sir.
What is the plan? It's too bad the town manager's not here. The concern I have, and Mr. O'Brien brought this up at the last meeting, had I not gone to the department head and he brought this up to me, I would have never known. The town manager knew, killed it. The selectman didn't know apparently until I brought it up. That's not how this should work. It should have gone to the town manager, it should have got to the selectman, and it should have got to this committee, so everybody had a chance to weigh in on it. And that concerns me, that didn't happen. And there needs to be a plan going forward for these radios, because if we just drop it, there's no plan, eventually something will happen.
John?
So.
Paul?
Can I comment on that? So, here, a 2-minute speech. Dave Bowers used to say that the way we work together is in harness. And that meant we all pull in the same direction. No backdoor stuff. No answer shop. The town manager, I believe, and this is hearsay on my part, I believe that Jim assigned the duty to Ford, the new fire chief, and the police chief to sit down and figure out what the replacement plan needed to be for all Motorola radios in this town. That's when I was on that side of the wagon.
That is correct.
True, that's true.
And I don't think that ever saw the light of day. How that happened, who the heck knows? But I think to answer your question, we need to, that's a big buy, that's a big purchase. And I think that, we probably ought to just, send a message back that it would be really great next time to see a plan, if there is one needed, to replace all radios. Now, what I did is I went and checked with the people who were, at the time, allegedly responsible for this stuff, and I got, if Steve Randall wasn't here, so he doesn't count, but I didn't call Dave Ford, but I couldn't get yeah, we sat down and had a meeting and decided not to do any, we never even had the meeting. So I think we need to have a theory of the case as to how to replace the radios. I'm fully supportive of doing that. I'm not fully supportive of doing anything other than that. So I hope I'm on your side on this one. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else about the radios? Chief?
If I might, hopefully I can shed a little bit of light on how we got here. The radio project has been in our quote capital outlay or asset management, however we term it, for several years. It came up 2024. We prices, admittedly, we're a little bit shocked at what the prices came back at. Put it forward to the town manager, which is our first step with our budget review. Did a little back and forth, and he suggested we move it, delay it by 1 year, which we, in light of everything else going on, said, okay, we can live with that. And I believe for that reason, the selectmen didn't necessarily see it as an immediate proposal for expense.
But we did discuss it.
And you may have, I don't recall that.
Yeah,
but-
because I remember looking at Motorola and the contracts and what.
We felt moving it back a year, we put it on the radar screen, we know it's coming. We don't feel that it's urgent from the standpoint of the equipment's failing, we can wait another year. So we said fine and move forward. Our intent would be, presuming nothing changes, to move forward next year in consultation with the manager and most likely the Board of Selectmen as to whether this is something we want to add to capital reserve because of the number that came back, or to attempt to do it over 2 years as we had proposed originally. That would be our intent. Obviously, if something breaks in the meantime, we'll fix it. I don't anticipate anybody going without, but that's kind of how we got to where we are. At the direction of this board, we went back and priced out a couple of options for lease purchase, as you requested. And they were forwarded to the town manager and the Board of Selectmen, who chose to essentially leave it the way it was. And I believe you got the backup material for your review anyway, and so be it.
That's correct.
At the end of the day, sure, if you decide you want to move forward with it next year, we're not going to turn it down, but we're comfortable waiting another year in light of everything else going on in the town and some of the discussions you just had with other departments. We're good.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Let's see. And one last thing, you guys have all gotten your excess funds identified where they did the cuts, Well, it was a total of $256,756.13. I would like to do a motion that we cut $75,000 from the 2024 budget. Give the town manager the opportunity to identify those cuts, and that he can come back, and if you can justify not doing those cuts, then we can consider putting it back in.
I'm sorry, John, I didn't hear the first
I know,
part.
it's hard to hear.
Motion to cut $75,000 from the 2024 budget, and basing that on, they were able to find $256,756.13 in the 2023 budget. With the understanding that the motion passes, the town manager can go back and defend why he shouldn't make those cuts, and that he can't make those cuts.
Second that. Question?
Yes, sir.
I would respectfully suggest that you might want to change your motion to focus on the general fund part of the budget, so we don't get caught up in the water, electric, and sewer.
Okay, yes, I will correct that. I agree with you. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
I agree.
Just to be.
Okay, I will amend my motion, Tom, if you
I'll
don't have a
second that.
problem. Okay, that is $75,000 cut from the general fund, with the understanding that the town manager can come back to us and try to justify why we shouldn't make those cuts. And basing that number on about 1/3
Right,
of the cuts that he came up for at the end of this year.
right.
Second.
Yeah, I think, okay. Any other discussion?
What would constitute justification?
He can come here and explain to us why he needs this money for certain things, why he can't do it. We can do a vote on it.
And we would decide whether, would we revisit the motion at that point, or?
Yeah, someone could do a motion to re-establish those cuts and put those cuts back in, the $75,000 back in.
For a portion thereof.
The portion, right, yeah.
So can I ask you a question now?
Yeah.
So are you looking at that number as sort of your final number, as what you feel could come out of this budget? Or do you feel that this budget committee should work to find more places to?
We should find what people would understand. We're going to have a $13 million nugget probably next year for taxes on the taxes that we're gonna pay for. How much is that, 65 cents on 1,000?
Are you talking about the bond?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna have that automatically?
I'm just asking
Yeah,
if
that's
you're,
what I'm just saying,
if
that we've
as a leader, as
Yeah.
the chair of this committee, I'm just asking right now if you're putting forth this 75 as you feel that that's all that should come out of
No, I
this
think there
budget,
could be
or do
more.
you feel this budget committee is responsible for removing more than that?
I think it's everyone's choice to do that, to decide what should be removed. I'm saying, given this information here, the selectman and the town manager came up with just about, well, $250,000
Yeah.
within a week.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's unreasonable that he can't find, out of a $34 million budget,
Yeah.
$75,000 to cut, or to remove. That's what I'm
I
basing.
just want to make sure that we're
Yes,
still
well.
gonna,
I know there's a motion on the table, John, would you be, could we move that number to $150,000?
I'm always willing to do that, Paul. I'll withdraw my motion. if you'd like to
Let
make that motion.
me just, if I could speak to it.
Yeah.
I
Let's get a
agree-
second first, let's get a second.
Oh, wait a minute, wait.
A second on what?
There is a second. There's a
I'll
second.
withdraw my motion for discussion, for you to discuss your motion.
Bob, go ahead. You wanted to say something?
Yes. We, at the beginning of this meeting, or earlier in this meeting, we were talking about the possibility of a default budget and having to scramble to come up with an extra $400,000 to keep our ambulances on the road, and also about another $180,000 to continue operating the solid waste facility. I'm not so sure this is a good idea because of that possibility. Especially at, I won't vote for $1.50. I'll vote for 75. But you know, that's we have to be careful because we might have to the town manager and the finance director might have to do a lot of scrambling next year to come up with money. So I don't think we want to pull too much out of the budget. Like I said, I'll go 75. I won't go $1.50.
All right, let's do, why don't we vote on the 75 if we're done discussing that? And then Paul, you can make your motion after that.
well, we have a motion
I'm
and
sorry.
a second. So we'll
I'm
vote for the
assuming
150, so you have to
the-
pull it back off.
The basis behind this is to make the budget more attractive to the voters and increase the chances of its passage.
Yeah, I want to cut if there's, I think there's still fat in the budget. It needs to come out. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah, and, yeah, I mean, I can understand that, but then that's just indicting our whole process here, that we didn't do our job properly by not examining the individual lines and making the individual cuts. I was quite surprised to see that we had only reduced the budget by, whatever it was, $10,000.
Yeah.
Up to tonight. So I understand what you're saying, but, I mean, by the time we get the budget, it should be cut up pretty good between the Board of Selectmen and the town manager. Yeah, I'm all in favor of doing what we can to make the budget attractive to the voters, because it's to the benefit of the town that this budget passes, and that we don't have to deal with another default budget that we did many years ago. Because to me, a default budget just pushes things off. You know, there's a lot of projects that get delayed, and, you know, sooner or later, we have to pay for these things. As Bob said, I'm okay at 75, but boy, I don't want to start pushing it to the point where they're going to start looking at, you know, employee raises and where are they going to pull this money from. So, and I think 75 is going to be asking for a bite too, but I want to make the budget attractive as we possibly can.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
So, back in summertime, we shared with each other the 5-year history of Board of Selectmen budgets and Budget Committee budgets, and the distance between the two, and the percent difference between the two over 5 years was 0.66%. If we take $150,000 out of the general fund, I don't say take, if we were to just move $150,000 down from the general fund, that would be 0.78%. We would be breaking new ground by going from 0.66% to 0.7%. So I will support the 75, but I honestly believe it's 150. And I'll speak to it by saying we watched the budget presentations. I didn't hear one word about anything we stopped doing. We stopped nothing. We just added on to things. Inflation is what it is. But we didn't stop anything. We have lots of opportunities. We asked about, you know, how compensation works. We asked about our cable network, how that works. Nothing got reviewed like, yes, we're going to fix that, except for the stuff that our friend in Public Works is saying, hey, we're going to fix dub fees and all that, because that just hit us right in the side of the head. So I'm going to come right back after this one, and I'm going to ask for another 75, and that'll only get us 0.78% difference than what we've done over the past 5 years. I think if we can't find 78 cents, 0.78% on a $19 million operating budget, I don't know. I think we can.
If you want to follow,
and I think we work hard at it.
If you want to follow that average you're talking about, just do 133,000.
Whatever.
Whatever.
I think we need to work hard to find, to John's point, I mean, we just can't keep adding to the budget. We're going to have more mortgage payments in a couple of years. I understand debt service payments. I just think it's right. So,
May I just one comment? So on the sheet, one of the sheets I did hand out to you tonight, we did stop doing some things. So there was $279,000 in capital outlay. It's over all the funds, but we're not doing that. Then the town manager took $327,000 out of capital outlay, and then the selectmen went and took $194,000 out of capital outlay. So the asks were here, and we did stop doing some things. We didn't do what we want to do, what the board department heads thought we needed to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying anything. I just you said we don't stop doing it. This indicates that we.
I'll respectfully push back and say that's not, to me, that's not a stop. That's an I'm adjusting your budget request in the first place. A stop is we decide that we're not doing certain things. And I'll leave that to the town to figure out what things we should stop doing. Maybe aligning revenues and costs a little better. We've been admonished that we're not supposed to talk about that. Well, I will. Maybe, maybe stopping or saying we need a plan for some of our programs that we run. And I think that's what Mr. Mulholland said. So I agree with you that it's, I can go in and ask for 10 times what I had last year and that gets cut back. That's not a stop. That's just, to me, that's I made an adjustment to your proposed budget.
But as a department head, I feel that, and this doesn't pertain to me, I need to identify areas that need to be addressed, and I need to ask, is my job. If it's cut out, that's somebody else's job, but it's my job to ask for dumpster replacements. Is it desirable? Yes, it is.
Yes, right.
And he said that, so it was easily taken away.
Catherine, I think you and Jim and the select board did a very good job, because I followed it, I followed your hearings. I think you all did a very good job. I agree with you. I actually think that you didn't leave us much to cut, and Brian, we did cut the bottom line on the police department, about $25,000 when they were in. So there were probably some more cuts than you thought. So, and to Paul's point, we got walloped. Paul, you were the chair of the Public Safety Building Committee for a while there, and that turned into a 13.1 or thereabouts $1 million bond, and then this other stuff we got whacked this year. We got the stuff we talked about, the solid waste facility and the ambulance service. We got hit with a lot of stuff at the same time. I don't think this is a normal course of business. I think things will calm itself down next year, and so if I'm the last speaker, I'll keep my mouth shut and maybe we'll move this thing.
Bob, you're always welcome to speak.
Thanks.
John?
Thank you. Thank you.
Question.
Thank
Are we gonna get a chance to go through the entire budget and make
Yeah.
cuts?
Yeah,
And that'll happen after the town manager makes some proposals?
that'll be on, the next meeting in January,
So you-
January 2nd.
So you'd like the town manager to come back and propose 75,000 in cuts?
Yep.
And then we'll go through and do our cuts?
Yeah.
After that?
I'm not sure the timeline's gonna work out, because I would think the town manager would wanna review it with the selectmen on the 3rd.
Well, currently, we have advertisements going into the Granite State News saying that we're gonna have the public hearing on what day?
The 9th?
The 9th and the 11th is the snow date, and it's already been noticed.
So we're gonna have a public hearing the 9th and 11th, whether it's looking to have this stuff done or not.
I'm just saying it wouldn't be done on the
Yeah.
2nd, that's all.
Yeah, 2nd.
I mean,
You know,
you're making a bottom line cut, I'm just saying I don't know that the town manager
just
without,
make the cut,
Yeah.
and then we have to
Right.
do that.
Deal with it.
I mean,
Okay.
you
I'm talking
send it
about all
back
the
to
warrant
us,
articles, you
take
still
a
have to do.
cut, and then we've got to deal with it.
Yeah,
And
okay.
exactly what line, and that's what we did to other departments, just
Okay,
put the
fine.
cut in, and then we'll,
Right.
then to come back.
You could have cut from 37 different lines, $2,000 a line, and then we would be here.
Okay, so, right now, everything is scheduled for the public hearing is when, the 7th and the 9th?
No, the 9th and the 11th.
9th and the 11th.
It's scheduled.
Making us one.
The only other, I don't recommend rescheduling the public hearing. It's already been out. It's gonna add so much confusion. What I would recommend
I
though
think
is
it's 75.
scheduling a meeting like we typically do prior to
By
the
that.
public hearing.
Okay.
That, like hour before.
Shall we have
Or
one?
the Board of Selectmen could hold a special meeting and review the warrant articles prior to the 3rd.
We have a motion to move.
Can we move
the question, please? Worry about the meeting later.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the motion is to reduce the general fund by $75,000 and give the town manager the opportunity to come back and tell us where he's gonna make those cuts, or if he can't make those cuts, or whatever. And that'll be done on January 2nd, our next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Motion,
Tom is no.
I'm gonna abstain.
John Mason.
Bob, you can't abstain, you've got to vote. Do you have a conflict? Do you have a conflict with it?
Yeah, I feel like we didn't do we have to do our due diligence in our job, and I feel like we have not done that as a committee. How can we go back to them and ask them to cut things when we ourselves sat on this committee over and over and over and didn't make cuts through the whole budget season? I think this is on us. I think that we have to do our due diligence first.
Okay.
And then at the end, if we can't find that 75 more, then maybe we can put the onus back on them. But I think the onus is on us right now. So I'm,
Can we do a roll call on that? This is an important item.
Yeah. What's that? Does everyone understand what the motion is?
Yes.
Okay. Would you a roll call, please?
Yes. Bobby.
I will change my vote to no.
Bob Tupper.
Yes.
John McDonald.
Yes.
Tom Bell.
No.
Bob Mulholland.
Yes.
Brian Black.
Yes.
Matt Flash.
Yes.
Bob Lohman.
Yes.
Paul
Yes.
O'Brien, sorry, and then Brian Shue.
No.
Okay. No,
7-3.
7-3-0.
Motion
John?
passes. Yes, sir.
Can I just make one comment? My
Certainly
feeling
can.
is, if the town manager has ideas on where we can cut 75,000, I think we should listen to them. And that's why I supported that motion. And we should give him some deference. We don't have to follow them, but we can give him some deference.
Yeah.
So, and then we can sit down and sharpen our pencils when we go through the entire budget. And I hope everyone will come in with some cuts proposed.
John, I make another motion?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make another motion that we reduce the general fund an additional $75,000 with the same terms that the town manager comes back and helps us all understand how a now total $150,000 could be removed by the budget, in the general fund budget.
Okay, is there a second?
Lost again.
You did?
I did.
I'm sorry, Paul, that was a big loss.
We call it a swing and a miss.
Yes.
A big-
I'm sure, Paul, if you can find another 75,000 in yourself, we'll be glad to consider that.
I certainly agree that Bobby's position that, I mean, this is our job to do. I voted for it in an effort to, again, make the budget attractive, and hopefully it'll pass the voters. But, yeah, I mean, we should be doing this all along, and we should all be, as a committee, we should be happy with our end result.
So we did it once as a board, we cut how much was it, $191,000, and now we'll have to do it again because that's just the way it is.
Right. Well, if it works to get the budget passed, then.
But we could have used some help.
Okay, anything else?
I guess I would just like to know the time frame. So you plan on doing this $75,000 cut from the town manager on Tuesday, January 2nd, and review all the warrant articles on January 2nd. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And final budget review.
Final budget review, we'll go through everything.
Okay, so I'm looking to the selectmen. I believe the selectmen are not talking about the final warrant articles till January 3rd.
Yeah, we have some.
So I see a disconnect here.
We have a bunch of them that can come forward that we have done. There are a number that we still have.
Well, we've got it in the newspaper when our public hearing is going to be, so.
But you also have January 4th as an open date, and I believe that's a conflict.
Can you meet on Sundays?
At your house.
Sure. The town manager has, one day tomorrow to turn it around. Without your input, I don't know how you do that, because we can't even advertise a meeting for the Board of Selectmen.
For the select board, John and I, we do have an open date on January 4th. John and I are both unavailable to be here, so we cannot be here on the 4th. So we actually have to, it would be our best time frame to look at the warrant articles on the 2nd, as Catherine said, but it is our understanding that you won't finalize the warrant articles till the 3rd. So that's our hang-up.
So John, you can't get back from Concord by 6 o'clock?
If I could, Bobby, I would have said I could have been there. Thank you.
I mean, should we push the
Bobby,
meeting?
again, I said I would be there if I could get back, and I can't promise that I can get back.
But I mean, can we just push the meeting by an hour? Would it be better to do that?
Do you think there's any way the board?
Just give me the
Notice it tomorrow.
Anyone available January 8th?
You say January 8th?
January 8th.
We could do serious time.
Yeah, I think that would be.
That'll give us the hearing will be on the meeting for the public
January
hearing.
8th, fine.
Okay,
So we're going to change the 4th to the 8th?
Can you attend the 8th? Who can attend?
Can everyone
the 8th?
attend January 8th instead of January 4th to do final review of the budget?
No. Final budget review is going to be on the 2nd.
And that's,
So the meeting on the
you're
8th
asking the town manager to cut $75,000. He's not going to be able to do it until the selectmen.
Okay, the 75,000 has been cut, okay? If you can pick something up, that's fine, and come back to our meeting and we can address it. Right now, we've got a timeline.
Right, but he's not gonna tell them where it is.
Right now, we have a timeline. We've got advertised, this is from the public. Please pay attention to me, Casey, so I have to explain this 4 or 5 times. The 9th
Please don't be rude.
I'm not trying to be, I'm trying to get your attention. The 9th and the 11th, when we're having the public hearing, that's advertised.
I understand that.
So we've got to get all that fit in.
I get that.
Days. Okay,
As
thank you.
I mentioned to you at the beginning of the meeting, I'm aware of the time crunch.
Thank you. So what do we have for dates, please?
January 8th is the budget committee. Are the members of the budget committee available to attend a meeting on the 8th? So we
And
can
that
review
meeting
the warrant articles.
That meeting is to consist of what?
Warrant articles.
Warrant article review, because the Board of Selectmen
Right.
are not
Okay.
meeting prior, considering the warrant articles prior to the January 2nd date. And it will, we can also put any revisit items and put the budget cut if you want. Final budget review. It's gonna be final, but do you want final budget review then?
Can they get everything printed and all set by the 9th for the public hearings?
I don't know, I'm not Jim.
You don't think so?
We're just kidding.
So what is the
The
meeting
agency-
on the 2nd going to consist of? Because I thought final budget review was the 2nd.
January 2nd is supposed to be final budget review
Okay, good.
and review of the remaining warrant articles. Jim Pinio asked today to reschedule it to the 2nd because he was unable to attend tonight.
Rescheduled to the 2nd.
To the 2nd.
Okay, so the 2nd is going to be final budget reviews and warrant articles.
It is supposed to be.
Oh.
No, but it's not. Because
The select board is not finalizing the warrant articles until the 3rd.
But we have a bunch of them that are, that you can look at.
No, they've already looked at
We've already
half.
looked at
You only
them.
need like a couple on the 20th.
Oh, okay, they've looked at half of them, okay.
Yeah, half of them have been reviewed.
And I'll do whatever I can to be whatever date, so don't.
Okay, January 2nd, we'll finish up the budget review.
Wait on Sunday.
January 8th, we'll do the warrant articles.
Okay.
That takes
So
place on the
final
4th.
budget review on the 2nd.
What's that?
That takes place on the
All right,
4th.
there's an open date on the 4th, what about that
No,
one?
that's
is canceled.
Canceled.
That's canceled?
Neither the chair or the vice chair can attend, so I have to cancel it. All of this is coming down tonight.
No, we do, because we have to put it on the
Okay, so warrant articles are January 8th. It would be helpful.
Okay, there's reevaluation that's in the budget. Does anyone want me to try to schedule someone that we can do a phone call during our meeting to talk about reevaluation on the 2nd?
January 2nd?
Yeah.
Our next meeting.
If anyone doesn't understand how the reevaluation process, do you want me to get someone that can explain it to us and answer any questions you may have on how it's gonna work?
Oh, you mean the property revalue?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know what you were.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I'm good.
You're good? Everyone
I'm
else
good.
good?
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else is good, you're all good.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure where, I wasn't sure.
Everyone's good? Okay. Okay, does anyone have anything else?
We're gonna do minutes tonight, or?
No, we're gonna get out of here tonight.
Where were you when the lights went out?
We'll do it, we'll go around the 2nd, unless someone wants to address them tonight.
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, who was the first?
Tom.
Paul, okay, and the second was Bob Lumen. Any discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.